It's time once again for Movie Spotlight, our Friday feature where our film critics join us each week to give us their recommendations on what to watch over the weekend among the latest releases here in Korea. And the first of those critics in the studio with me is Jason Bechervaise. Jason, hello, it's good to see you.
Yeah, great to be here as always, Django.
And we also have with us Darcy Paquet as well. Darcy, hello to you too.
Hi.
So, one Korean film and one international feature to look at this week. We start with the local release. Jason, this is your pick. It's a mystery thriller called Somebody, or Chimbum in Korean, which actually translates into intrusion. It stars Kwak Sun-young, Kwon and Ishal. Jason, this premiered at the Busan International Film Festival last year, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yes, I wasn't able to see it then, so I watched it in a theatre in my local multiplex. It screened at Busan in the Panorama section. It's part of their Korean Cinema Today program, and it's directed by two filmmakers, Kim Yo-jong. This is her feature debut. She worked as a AD on Broker, also made the short My First Time from 2019 at screening competition at the Busan Film Festival. Now that's an event that provides these young student filmmakers with a bit of a stepping stone to enter the commercial industry. So that's one filmmaker. There's also Lee Jong-chan, who worked as an AD on Yellow Sea. So yeah, two new filmmakers. The film's story follows Young-eun, a single mother played by Kwak Sun-young. She's a swimming instructor who has to deal with the challenges of raising a daughter with significant mental health difficulties. And so the film is kind of split into two, and then 20 years later we have a kind of separate narrative. A young woman, Min, played by Kwon Yuri, who works for a cleaning service that basically specializes in the homes of people who died. So she comes across a woman called Hae-young, played by Isol. She's a bit of an odd personality, so kind of causing a sense of, anxiety. So you got these two different stories that obviously they come together at the end. But
okay.
Yeah,
so
I'll say
it's meant to be a sort of tense mystery thriller, right? Yeah. Where you're not supposed to know where things are leading. It's led by three women, interestingly, as well.
That's
Jason,
a good point.
What did you make of it?
It's okay. There are a few problems with it. I think. Yeah, the two halves feel very different to me, and I wonder whether these two directors made the two, one helm the first half and one helm the second half. Korean films are, renowned for how they deal with social issues, difficulties facing society, and sometimes they will resort to violence and using genre to tell these stories. But this does tackle the issue of mental health, and I just personally thought it was really heavy-handed. This is a kind of issue that I think needs some sensitivity, which is I just didn't think was there, and when it comes to these difficulties, I think horror films have been quite effective, psychological horror, like A Tale of Two Sisters. Whereas here it has its moments, it's not a bad film. I just think it's kind of fairly mediocre. The performances are good, granted. I was engaged throughout the film, but, when it comes to this, what is a very difficult issue, and it feels very taboo in Korean society, and as it struggles to come to terms, with this issue that affects many people. But I just thought it was a bit OTT in places, and I think it could have been a bit more intelligent. But there you go.
So it was put together pretty well, but you're saying that there's some major issues that are hard to overcome.
Yeah, interesting to hear what Darcy says about it. But looking at the reactions as well, I think it's actually pretty much what I think. I don't think it's getting really low scores. Critics aren't that going out, bashing it. But at the same time, it just feels pretty average at best. This is not reflective of the best Korean cinema that there is.
Sure.
And personally, one of the reasons that I love Korean films is the way they delve into these complex, difficult problems. But here it feels I just came out feeling a bit frustrated.
Well, Darcy, did you catch this as well? What did you make of it?
I did. I think I liked the second part better than the first part.
Yeah.
I mean, the first part. There's some overlap with the British movie We Need to Talk About Kevin, and although the ages are different, but it's a similar kind of setup, and I just feel like even though the acting was good in the first half, and I didn't see it as a directing problem, but the story really didn't have anywhere to go except the obvious direction, and so where it's going, and you're waiting for it to go there, and
and it does go there.
Yeah, and that you're not going to like it when it goes there, but you're just kind of strapped in. The second half, there's it takes a while to kind of get oriented in the second half and figure out what kind of a story it's trying to tell, and the characters, we gradually get to know them, and then our feelings about the characters shift as we go through it. So I did find the second half more interesting. Acting was really good. Isol is really fantastic, I think.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah.
And I won't talk too much about her character, but in the end, at the end of the film, I liked it better than I thought I was going to like it at the middle.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
So it picked up momentum for me in the middle, but I guess uneven is a word that would characterize the film.
Right. Uneven, a mixed review from both of you then. But I understand that it's not doing too bad in the cinemas at the moment.
Yeah, no, the industry's really interesting right now. I mean, you've got these kind of indie movies that are opening in second place. And to be fair, this I think generated sold around 10,000 tickets, which isn't great for a commercial title, but for an independent film, that's not bad at all.
Oh, so this is an independent film, we can call it.
Yeah, I mean, I checked up on I couldn't. I'm a bit of a geek. I like to check out the budget and break even point. And I when I had a quick look, I couldn't find. Yeah, I couldn't see the figures, but. It is classed as a kind of independent film on the Kobe's website, which is Korean Film Council's box office website. So it is an indie movie. Although there is one studio that's been involved, NEW, so I think they're selling the film overseas. But low budget, and we talked about It's Okay, last week, and whether that's a commercial or an independent film. And so if you look at the films that generated money last year, many of them were budgeted under 10 billion won. So, and I'm hearing, talking to people in the industry, that's the studios now, moving away from those big budget films, because they were making them because they were making more money, as a result of them doing very well. The return on investment was higher than for lower budget films, but because they're not working anymore, now they're kind of turning to cheaper films,
right.
Less risk, and so indie films are doing quite well in a way in the theatre, which is a good thing. But the industry is in a weird place right now.
Right, just for reference for our listeners as well, 10 billion won, that's about $7 million US. Once again, that film was Somebody, and it's out now in cinemas here in Korea. Let's move on to the international feature now, and naturally this is your recommendation, Darcy. It's called Conclave, or Conclave in Korean. And
I love my Korean title.
Well, I think that might be a reference actually to the Latin kind of pronunciation of the word. Yeah. But anyway, it is a film set in the Vatican, and it's about the selection of a new pope. Now, Darcy, this was a major awards contender, receiving 8 nominations at the Academy Awards recently, and it ended up winning Best Adapted Screenplay as well. Can you tell us more about the film?
Yeah, it's based on a 2006 novel, same title, by Robert Harris. It's characterized as a thriller. You wouldn't think of the papacy or the Vatican as being the setting for a thriller, but it does create some tension. It's they're not murdering each other, but it is a film filled with tension. The director is Edward Berger, whose previous film, the German language film All Quiet on the Western Front did quite well at the Oscars as well. And it has an outstanding cast. I mean, particularly Ralph Fiennes. He's in the leading role. This was one of his... I mean, he's had a lot of great performances over the years, but this will, I think, rank up among one of his best. There's also Stanley Tucci and John Lithgow, and Isabella Rossellini has a small but very powerful role as well. And so it's basically just a film about the selection of the Pope. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say that it's timely. You know, our Pope...
right now, yes.
I wish him well, I think. And I'm hopeful that he'll recover and continue to be Pope for more years. But of course, you know, when either he passes away or he steps down, then there'll be this kind of process to choose the next Pope.
Right, it has unfortunately become somewhat possibly timely. But yes, tell us about the actual story of the film itself. And you said it's about the process of choosing a pope, right? Yeah,
I mean, there have been a lot of movies that kind of contain, a bit about the selection of a new pope. In terms of this film, it's entirely devoted to that. And so at the start of the film, the pope has died suddenly. And, you know, two of the cardinals who are quite close to him, the British cardinal played by Ralph Fiennes, and then the American cardinal played by Stanley Tucci, they're very distraught and feel kind of at sea and not really sure what to do. But Ralph Fiennes' character is the dean of the College of Cardinals, and so he's the one who's entrusted with organizing and overseeing this conclave. And so the conclave basically involves all the cardinals around the world. They come to the Vatican. They sequester themselves, and so they're cut off completely from the outside world. They don't get any news about what's happening outside. I assume their phones are all confiscated and no TVs. And basically every day they are tasked with holding this series of ballots. Until one of the candidates receives 2/3 of the vote, the ballots just continue.
Right.
Famously, they burn the ballots at the end of the day. And if it's ordinary black smoke that appears at the top of the Sistine Chapel, then that's a sign that they haven't chosen a pope yet. And if it's white smoke, then that's the sign that they have chosen.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, among these contenders, there are a lot of them. Many of them initially kind of say that they're not that interested, and I don't consider myself a candidate. But then when things get down to it, we see that
they all are.
Many of them really do want this desperately.
Okay, so what did you think? Because as you said, perhaps at first glance, the idea of watching a film with a group of old men voting all day might not seem that riveting. But are they able to get the drama out of that then? Yeah,
they really do. It reminded me, perversely, of some gangster movies. Johnny Toe's Election is about an election that takes place to select the head of a new organized crime unit in Hong Kong. And, the Cardinals here, they don't act quite like gangsters, but, it is a story about how people gain and lose power. There are these really interesting personalities within the group, and some of them are kind of more conservative in outlook, some of them are more progressive in outlook. They're from various regions around the world. But then also, they all have these different personalities, and so seeing these personalities clash, and particularly in this kind of pressure cooker type of situation, and various things start getting revealed about the characters as well, and so it's a bit more dramatic than I think most conclaves would be, because we do get some quite surprising revelations in the course of it. But on the whole, it's interesting because it does reflect something that happens in reality, and then it makes it quite entertaining to watch. Jason, I know you caught this as well. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I'm getting through it because I literally watched the first half before the show, but
okay.
It's really it's great. Just the writing, and Ralph Fiennes is just so he's electrifying. Just whenever he opens his mouth, or even when he doesn't, and. Yeah, it's there's just all these scandals, and these popes are kind of they're drinking and they're smoking and they're all doing things that they shouldn't really be doing. All right, but yeah, it's there's just a sense of humor about it all as well. And yeah, and so that just makes it, you know, even more entertaining. The performances, yeah, like I said, are terrific. I'm not surprised to see it attract the awards attention that it had done.
So a rave review, even though you've only seen the first half.
I know. I can't wait to see, you know, finish it off later on.
Right. And very briefly, how are Korean audiences responding to the film?
I mean, box office is not bad. You know, I think that, I mean, surely they were hoping for kind of a big Oscar win, and that might have boosted the box office a bit. But, you know, it did go up to number 2 briefly. It's amassed around 100,000 admissions. And
It's pretty good.
So, yeah, I think that it's doing well, and it may stick around for a bit longer.
Interesting. So once again, that was Conclave. And that's where we're going to wrap it up for this week's Movie Spotlight. Jason, Darcy, as ever, thank you for your reviews, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.